All right, welcome to Q 2016. I'm Chris Walsh for Q Live, and we are kicking off our conference here with a great conversation with Brad Montague, who is the creator, producer, writer, director, best friend of Kid President. You had a great kickoff to the Q conference here this morning. Everybody's raving about smiles everywhere, people giving hugs. You clearly inspired them.
Oh man, it's been incredible. This event, it's a fire hose of inspiration. There's all these stories, people coming up, hugs, high fives.
Awesomeness.
Yes, it's been really, really, really incredible. So.
Well, I mean, I think that's kudos to not only you and the talk you had here today, but also the work you've done with Kid President and to Robbie and the whole series that's come out of that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, if we could, and maybe just start with just the origin story. You know, how this sort of came about and why you even wanted to do this.
Well, I've always worked with young people. I've always felt like a kid at the grown-ups table. So like,
I know the feeling.
So always wanting to somehow help children. So my wife and I ran a summer camp, and at the camp it was all about service learning, community service. So we're seeing all these students who cared about the world in big ways. Like they would see something and we're like, I'm not okay with that. I'm gonna help the homeless in my community. I'm not okay with the fact that there's people who don't have clean drinking water in the world. So these were young people who were so full of creativity and compassion that they had to do something. And I always saw these kids again and again and again, and I'm spending time with them, and then I hop online and I see there's a lot of negativity and there's people, there's an election going on, and I just felt like, why shouldn't we listen to young people more? So my little brother-in-law, who is Robbie, we just said, let's play. Let's see what happens.
And the concept of Kid President, I read somewhere was that tied to a university or something at some point?
It's where a kid is president.
I got that.
Yeah. I was working at a university, and we had been part of this camp that my wife and I did there.
Okay.
And my wife said, well, what if Robbie were president? And so we put him in his Easter suit. We got behind an old record player. Got some cardboard, and I drew a seal on it.
Yeah, I love that seal.
And then we let him talk, and I asked him questions. And I had a few things I wanted him to say. And because it was improv, it ended up being 3 videos. So I put one online a week. And with each video, the audience grew. And then we realized we had tapped into something, that people needed a video that had no agenda other than to just be happy. So it was this little hand grenade of happiness we threw onto the internet. So while other people were typing in all caps, we just posted a video that said, hey, get off your Facebook, talk to people. See ya, I'm out.
Right.
And then, so people really responded. And then as that's grown, I've become more and more intentional about how students, how young people, and people who used to be young, how they interact with it. So we really think about, okay, what are we putting in this video? What kind of action are we calling people to? And we've seen some really beautiful stuff happen.
And how much of that is still improvised today?
It depends on the type of video we do. There are some that are strictly just Robbie and myself playing. So those are a little bit more freeform. Then there are others where I have to shoot and I'm on a location or wherever. So I will have these what I call anchor points, where this is vital. I want to make sure this is in there. This is what I want to teach Robbie. And then there's these moments of play, and this is where I want him to teach me. And so when you have that, then you get a mix of this younger person and their energy, and then you get a grown-up's wisdom. So a big part of what we want to encourage and inspire are kids and grown-ups working together. So you take that creativity and the energy. I mean, you've worked along kids, so you see that. And I think as much as we want kids to learn from us, if we can learn from them, that's when the good stuff happens.
Now, do you ever get anybody who says, a kid would never say that? That's got to be an adult. Anybody ever said that to you?
Yes, yeah. And I think that says more about them than us.
Good point.
And I've loved what this has taught me about people and how how we respond to things we see or say. And there's an old saying that you're your own worst critic. But whoever said that never posted a video on YouTube.
That's right. Hasn't read the comment stream,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. But our thing is this is a fictional character, and yet there's a lot of realism within it. So there's that balance, and yet our response and the audience response is very real.
Yeah.
And so we treat them real.
Yeah.
So we want them to know that their voice matters. We love what you're saying. So we have a community online, and we try to respond to any comment, be it negative or positive.
Yeah. So speaking of the real people behind this, talk a little bit about Robbie and your relationship with him, and maybe even more importantly, how you guys have grown as you work on this together.
Yeah. So he is my wife's little brother. So he's my brother-in-law, and I can get a chart and show you if you want. About
we can picture that.
I'm gonna add a graphic.
It's all good.
So we live across the street from each other.
Really? Okay.
In a town about the size of this building, and we've always made things together. It was a creative family, so we always made little videos and stuff. So they really come from that. So as it's grown, we've only tried to keep that family stronger. So like my family's here with me today, because he won't always be a kid.
Right.
He won't always be a president, but we'll always be a family that tries to make things that
clearly
that
past kid president comes like teen emperor or something like that.
Teen
right?
emperor. He would love that. He would love that. Yeah, and I think it comes out of who we are, and the best things we do come out of a true sense of who we are.
I think that, and I think that shows in what you guys are doing. I'm wondering too, how much his personal story of some of the health struggles he's had and so on kind of feed into the show itself and also the audience's response.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So he has a bone condition called osteogenesis imperfecta. And it's not anything we ever talked about because we didn't want that to be his identity or what he's known as.
Right.
Because he's Robbie, and that's just a part of who he is. So we never really talked about that. And then there's this video that goes online where he is, where I wrote this pep talk, we share it, and it clicks with people. And they didn't even know the depth of the darkness he'd felt or the pain. And I think it's interesting because they didn't realize that he'd had over 70 broken bones or had so many surgeries or been through what he has. But I think you feel that. You see that this is...
Sincerity is there for sure.
This is coming from, it's one thing to say, hey, have a great day, like, be nice.
Right.
When it comes from a real place where both sadness and joy have held hands, like in the movie Inside Out, when you have joy and sadness together, there's a strength. I was talking to a guy just a bit ago in line who was sharing with me the death of his brother. And even before he said that, I could feel this deep joy and strength in him that came from a powerful place. And when he told me about his brother, I was like, there's something very, very powerful in that. And so I think the fact that he has been through what he has been through, he's not just spitting sunshine at the world. It's coming from a real place.
And I think some people have said he's an actor, right? And clearly he's a good actor. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's charming, right? He's interesting, he's fun, all of that. But I do believe that the reason people respond to it is because of the authenticity and that story that he has behind that. So let's talk a little bit about the pep talk, because clearly this was the moment when sort of things exploded, right? And I think that was maybe 4 months in or so after you'd been doing this. And I'm just wondering what that was like for you guys to kind of go from lots of people watching, but then, millions of people watching, right, overnight.
Yeah, I mean, so after the first video went online and like a few hundred people watched, I thought that was success.
Yeah, that's awesome, right?
Yay, like that's more than my mom.
That's right.
And then more people watched, and then it actually was like, oh, more people than live in our town watched. And that grew scary. But then these videos were recognized by a really powerful creative group run by Rainn Wilson and some team in Los Angeles called Soul Pancake. And I thought, this is incredible. Like, this we made it. And people were watching and connecting with the videos. We had some really cool interactions with celebrities. And then the election was over, and I thought, okay, well, we did it. This was a really fun thing.
But he didn't get elected. We were all bummed.
People actually wrote Kid President in, which is frightening to me.
That's awesome.
I mean, a fictional character is just as real, I guess.
We wrote in Arnold, and let's see. Well, we have other fictional characters now running, so we won't comment on that.
No. And then, so anyway, yeah, I thought this has gone well. Let's end it gracefully. We had wrapped up the election.
So there's a plan to end it.
Yeah, I thought the pep talk would be the next to last video.
Okay.
So the next video after the pep talk was just supposed to be him saying, "This has been really fun. Thanks for all you did for me."
Wow.
And I wanted the pep talk to be a video that would be a little more timeless than the others, that would exist for my kids who were very young at the time, so they could watch and be like, "Oh, look, Dad made this."
That's great.
But I didn't think a lot of people would see that. I thought, because it didn't have a celebrity. Did not. He broke away from the desk, and it's very hard on the sleeve, and yet that's what resonated with people, and it says a lot about the kinds of things we make and where it comes from. It came from an honest place of me needing a pep talk and sharing that, coming from a place of love, and also the fact that people are hungry for content that is full of wonder and whimsy, but also wisdom
and hope.
And hope.
Yeah.
And so it was super encouraging to see that it became the runaway train that it did, and that it's continued and grown into this, movement.
Yeah.
And so we've learned a lot.
And now a book, a successful book.
Now a book, yes.
Did that just come out of wanting to tell more of those stories, or reconnecting and expanding the audience and message and movement even further?
Well, it came from, you can't hold a YouTube video in your hands,
right?
And I've always loved great books like The Giving Tree, or Dr. Seuss has so many wonderful books. And there's something about being able to hold a book in your hand, smell a book, and so we wanted to do. Originally, it was going to be a small book, and then I just kept writing, and so it's this fat little book. But I've loved that it's something that people can use in classrooms, or they can read, and it was designed for like teachers and students to go through together, or parents and kids, because that's so my favorite images are when people send us a family going through it together and laughing at different things.
That's awesome. So what's next for Kid President? I mean, clearly he's not going to be a kid forever.
Yeah.
But we could certainly, I think your audience would want you to continue to have a relationship with the content, with the character, with the two of you. So what's next? What do you think is in the future for you guys?
Well, this year we just launched today online. Kid President announced that this is Year of the Kid. And our goal is we're trying to activate people everywhere to engage in a conversation that puts the focus back on children. So in the midst of an election where there's lots of noise and division, can we at least unite around the idea that children are important? So every collaborator we've ever had with Kid President, people in healthcare, in education, game design, whatever field you're in, how can you make the world more awesome for children? And how can you make the conversation about that?
And are there specific initiatives and things?
There's different things he's going to be releasing throughout the year. Like we want to get a certain amount of surprise parties happening, a certain amount of parades, different silly things that Kid President wants to happen. But we also have some things we want to see real people do in the real world that bring together kids and grown-ups. And so that's our big thing we're excited about right now. And then from there's something so profoundly moving to be invited into a classroom and to be able to have these silly things that I make be used in a class and to connect with students as a starting point for a teacher to do. So what that looks like, I don't fully know, but I feel like it's what I'm supposed to do.
I have some ideas.
I
We'll
would
talk
love
about
to
that.
talk more.
That's awesome.
But,
well, first, thank you so much for the work that you and everybody relate. I know it's not just the two of you on Kid President, but that you guys do. It's obviously inspiring. It's resonating. But also thank you for just your own personal message that you shared here with Q. It's spreading joy all over the place. So I want to thank you for that. Now, before we go, one word. If you had to leave the Q community that you've started to interact with here today, what's one word you would leave with them?
Joy. Enjoy it.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Brad. All right. For everybody here at Q and Q Live, I'm Chris Walsh, and we'll see you soon. Take care.